My most recent video game obsession, Baldur's Gate 3. This game has raised the bar alone for storytelling, character writing, and choose your own adventure in the RPG category. I currently have over 700 hours clocked into the game, which is probably the most hours I've ever clocked into a game before, with platinum trophy and in-game golden dice to show for it. So to start off, I'm going to be talking about the story of this game. Now, I'm not a long-standing fan of Dungeons & Dragons, which is the universe this game takes place in, so I don't have deep knowledge on the lore of things, which honestly didn't matter. What makes the storytelling of this game so amazing is that you don't need years of experience in order to understand what's going on. Something I have to especially commemorate this game for is having one of the most badass intro cinematics I've ever seen in a video game. I mean, I came into this game with no prior knowledge on anything Dungeons & Dragons, but I'm immediately met with what looks like squid aliens pulling a War of the Worlds on some medieval city. Then some amphibian people on dragons come out of portals and start fighting with squid aliens. A battle that goes from location to location as they're all teleporting across the world, it looks, only to end up in hell by the end. As if that shit wasn't cool enough to see, you then have a battle royale between demons, squid aliens, and dragon riding amphibian people. Like, holy fuck, that is some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life without context. I find the main objective of the plot of this game to be very compelling. The whole game is about you desperately searching for a cure for your character. Unlike other games that use an accident or tragic event to empower your character to be better than they were before, this game uses the fact that you were abducted by mind flayers as a completely bad thing for your character. Your character in this game is dying. There's a clock ticking away as your character becomes more ailed and on the verge of losing themselves to the grand design. Now granted, while your character can benefit from the parasite, and while Ceramorphosis is essentially frozen in place for your character, there's still the inevitable that unless you find a cure, you're going to die. And furthermore, on this fact, it's not just you that's going to die if you can't find the cure, but your friends you make along the way that will die. The whole world will be doomed if you can't find this cure you're traveling all across the land to find, defying the will of the gods to obtain. And as if these stakes aren't high enough as is, by middle of the journey, you find the cure being hidden in the midst of a conspiracy plot puppeted by a cult. This game's story is beyond genius for writing, not only breaking away from the typical empowering tragedy or accident origin to the main character, but also making the context so extravagantly complex and cool while still being easy to grasp and understand. Now, this game is littered with characters, not just side characters that act as companions to your player character or enemies to have dramatic dialogues with, but loads of interactable NPCs with unique dialogue. This game might arguably have the most dialogue you can find in a game for NPCs. Every character you see is just about interactable with, not only sporting their own character stats, but also being compatible. Every character in this game can die that isn't a child or important to the plot, like Raphael, for example, meaning just about no character is immune to a genocide run. The companion characters in this game are truly heart-stealing, not only as friends to your character, but also as romantic partners. Each companion sporting their own unique origin stories, unique personalities, moral compasses, and unique quest lines that uncover more to these characters than what's on the surface. Some of my favorite companions to have in my party, as well as romance partners, is Astarion, Halsin, Karlach, and my personal favorite romance option, Lae'zel. Which, yes, I'm aware of the divided opinions concerning Lae'zel as not only a companion, but also a romance option. But honestly, I think Lae'zel has the most heartwarming romance out of all the companions, and I think her character's personality is the most lovably rough around the edges. Setting aside the companion characters, though, some of the enemies and NPCs in this game can steal your heart as well. For example, Alfira comes to mind first for being a lovable NPC. She's a character you meet early in-game, and is one you encounter throughout all acts of the game, granted she's kept alive. Her character is just very sweet, charismatic, and you feel sympathetic towards her struggle to maintain a cheerful hope about the future. There's a lot of diversity, surprisingly, to the NPCs you encounter throughout the game, all with their own lives and struggles, and relationships to other characters. Even a character that has little to showcase in the game, such as Karnus, is one that really grasped my interest. Enough to try searching for as much interaction as I could get with the character, and even searching into the lore of D&D to try and learn more about what the hell this dude even is. Super creepy, by the way, yet looks really cool design-wise. A very notable enemy in this game, who to me is the most interesting out of the three main antagonists you face in the game, is Ketheric Thorm. The character's design is badass. The armor he's rocking is my favorite piece of armor in the game, just based on appearance. Has a great armor stat too, by the way. The character is written with a mix of mystery to him, intimidating presence, great class concept of being an immortal Oathbreaker paladin, and having personal tragedy. Not to mention, he's also voiced by J.K. Simmons, who I love not only as an actor, but as a voice actor as well. Well known for his iconic roles such as Omni-Man from Invincible, Terrence Fletcher from Whiplash, and as J. Jonah Jameson from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films. Now, as much as I love J.K. Simmons, I do have to critique his performance as Ketheric Thorm. I found that the scripted dialogue for Ketheric was written more expressively than J.K. Simmons' performance. I think the voice work could have used more oomph when it came to the character's show of anger or conviction. Setting aside all this world building with these characters, it brings me to my final opinion on this game. The gameplay of this game took me some time to adjust to. It wasn't easy getting the hang of it, and it took me about a half hour before I started settling into the feel of the game. The main culprit for this was getting used to the action wheels. I haven't played many games before that required the use of action wheels when exploring the world, but it wasn't a major turnoff for me once I got settled into it. The combat of the game is fantastic for turn-based. It gives a more strategic take on the idea of turn-based combat, utilizing literally everywhere in the game as being a battleground. Not only is everywhere up for battling in, but anyone can join in the fight with or against you. You can also utilize areas to your advantage by leading enemies to more suitable areas where you can push them off edges into insta-kill abysses, seize the high ground for advantage with your ranged characters, or simply just lead enemies to where ally NPCs are located to help you in your fight. The inventory system in the game is clean, allowing for easy change of equipment for your characters and reorganization between inventories and bags. I find the class systems of this game to feel pretty diverse. Some of the classes do feel pretty useless to me, like Monk, Sorcerer, and Ranger, which I've never really made use of or thought of to be interesting much. My favorite classes in this game include Fighter, Cleric, Paladin, and Wizard, mainly for just being fun to play as or having great gameplay mechanics for your party. I think Paladin just has a cool aesthetic for role-playing despite the gameplay not being the most interesting in comparison to other classes. Fighter, Cleric, and Wizard are great classes for having in your party. Fighters feature a shitload of multi-attacks and act as bruisers for your party. Clerics make for great healers if you select a life domain subclass, and Wizards utilize spells like Knock and Enhanced Leap, making exploring the world easier and without many barriers. I think the character creator is great in this game. There isn't as much freedom as having sliders to change everything about your character, which I never utilize sliders in character creators because it's more effort than I'm willing to put in for a custom character. But the options they give, I think, are more than enough to create some truly unique looking characters with many options for hairstyles, colors, and etc. One thing I wish they did do, though, is have body tattoos be an option. They have a lot of face tattoos, none for your body like sleeve tattoos or back tattoos. Personally, my favorite build to have in the game is a High Elf War Domain Cleric. It makes for a well-rounded character that can dish out damage while doing good healing. Overall, there isn't much I honestly have to critique about this game. It just simply feels like a 10 out of 10 game with little wrong with it. The only critique I have with this game has to do with some of the voice work, like with Ketheric Thorm. It's not often that I feel that way about games, since there's never a game that's actually just perfect in every way. And with all that being said, that brings us to the end of this video. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite class is, and don't forget to also drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Till we meet again, stay freaky.